Recent developments have impacted the implementation of MOUs. The United Nations and partner universities have overcome adversity and distance to keep the power of languages alive. No matter how great the challenge, the pandemic has also generated unique opportunities. Before we move on to the breakout sessions, I give the floor to Deva Alexander, English reviser at ASCWA, to give us an overview of the challenges and opportunities described by MOU universities. Deva, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Renaud. Hello, everyone. As part of the preparations for this conference, we asked MOU universities to provide us with written input on challenges and success stories in interpretation and translation since the outbreak of the pandemic. We received numerous responses and were able to compile the inputs in a report, which can be found on the conference website. It's a very interesting read. I'd like to summarize some of the main points made by the MOU universities. First, we look at some general challenges. Because of lockdown measures, most universities were suddenly required to move to remote teaching. Not everyone was prepared for this transformation, and many classes had to be cancelled until the online setup was complete. Several universities reported struggling with various technical issues, including slow internet connections, especially for faculty members and students living in rural areas, and having to establish an area in their homes to work or teach. They also found difficulty in downloading software and applications without technical assistance, which weren't always straightforward to install and use. Many students and faculty members struggled with substandard home computers and other personal equipment, and with the cost of updating that equipment, especially for interpretation, which requires specialized headsets and microphones. Such technical disparities meant that students were receiving an unequal learning experience, which caused frustration for many. Several universities also found it challenging to provide remote training for faculty members and students to use online platforms and other resources. Consequently, many universities reported facing difficulties in maintaining a stable, equal, efficient, and stress-free online learning environment for their students and faculty members. The online learning environment meant that students had to rely more on themselves and take the initiative to remain focused on their studies outside the physical classroom. The online environment also raised concerns about academic honesty, especially with regard to remote examinations. Lockdown measures also meant that students lost out on in-person internships and other on-site training opportunities, including with the United Nations. Universities also faced the arduous task of adapting and updating their syllabuses to the new online teaching environment. Several universities introduced hybrid approaches to teaching and learning. For example, some universities allowed students to return to the classroom to attend lessons conducted remotely by their professors. Others allowed some students and professors to return to the classroom, while other students attended their lessons remotely because of personal quarantine measures. In the latter case, universities encountered difficulties in ensuring that all students were receiving an equal learning experience. Nonetheless, the universities also reported several success stories. The pandemic triggered universities to adopt and implement long-existing technologies that they had previously been hesitant or unprepared to use. This also caused a flurry among software and application developers to improve their products to meet the sudden increased demand. After a year of remote learning, teachers and students have become more at ease with online tools and platforms. Professors with online teaching experience were able to train other faculty members to use new technologies and online tools. Professors were also able to give online seminars to hundreds and even thousands of students at the same time. Universities had the opportunity to invite more subject matter experts from across the world to hold online seminars for their students. And the move to a remote learning environment also encouraged professors to prepare rich online teaching resources that they shared among themselves. The United Nations continued its outreach activities and collaboration with MOU universities through online tutoring and distance internships. The online environment also strengthened collaboration between MOU universities. The universities came up with innovative solutions for holding translation and interpretation exams online. And many universities also held their graduation ceremonies online to ensure that their students didn't feel that they were missing out because of the pandemic. Challenges in interpretation. Universities complained about a lack of affordable or free online platforms designed for teaching simultaneous interpreting. So they had to resort to general purpose platforms, such as Zoom, to conduct their lessons, which pose various practical and technical problems, especially with sound quality. Many universities reported difficulties in teaching their students note-taking techniques for consecutive interpreting, and in checking their students' notes to improve their delivery and avoid misrepresentations from inadequate abbreviations and symbols. Universities also reported challenges in teaching students other interpretation skills online, including teamwork reflexes, handover etiquette, relay, and retour. Success stories in interpretation. Several universities reported that many of their students and trainers preferred teaching or learning simultaneous interpretation online because they felt it was more practical and comfortable than sitting in a booth. Students formed online practice groups with students from other universities across the world, which greatly enriched their learning experience. Students with rare language combinations were also able to connect and practice online. Universities formed remote panels to assess interpretation exams, which allowed broader participation by subject matter experts and United Nations professionals in the examination process. To service this conference, ESCWA organized remote training for students from various MOU universities to use this online interpretation platform. They are all currently covering the conference from their respective countries. Challenges in translation. Many universities reported that students were turning off their cameras during translation lessons, which meant that teachers could not monitor whether they were fully engaged and focused on their lessons. Several universities said that they had encountered difficulties in providing students with affordable CAT software and tools that they could download on their personal computers to use at home. Success stories in translation. Students requested, many translation professors asked students to translate short paragraphs and post them in the chat box as an online interactive exercise, which could then be used to assess student participation in remote classes in the long term. Students were also able to participate in various translation contests that had not previously been available online. So that's it from me. Please have a look at the complete report that you can access through the conference website. We now invite you to leave this platform and connect to the breakout sessions on Zoom via the links that we emailed you. Thank you very much.